This week on the RV podcast,
what's best for the RVer, Starlink or Cellular?
Mini Meetup Week starts this weekend for the RV lifestyle community with in-person get-togethers held all across the country. Mike and I will hold one Friday night.
What do you do when your RV's refrigerator stops cooling?
All this plus the RV news of the week and your questions coming up in episode 516 of the RV podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Wendland, and this is my lifelong traveling companion and my bride, Jennifer.
Oh, it's my Mikey.
I'm glad I'm your Mikey. Hey, just a quick announcement. We have 1 week left to go for our latest giveaway, and this is the first one we're going to give away. This is the Waggle Pet Monitor Pro Plus. And what does it do?
It keeps track of temperatures inside your rig and sends alerts via SMS, email, and in-app notifications when it exceeds your set threshold.
And another thing it also does is gives you peace of mind when you want to leave your dog, say, at a museum, or you're going to go shopping or out to the beach or something.
Or out for dinner.
That's the first prize. The second prize is the RV Mini AI Cam. This guy right here, it lets you monitor your pet virtually with a 360-degree camera. You get two-way audio, you get real-time motion tracking. These are the best in pet safety for RVing owners, and you can enter our contest as many times as you want. I think there's 14 different ways. RVlifestyle.com/sweepstakes. Two winners. One gets the Monitor Plus Pro Plus, and one gets the camera. We'll announce them on Ask Us Anything Sunday, September 29th. That's pretty exciting.
It is. Those are great prizes.
All right, let's tell them about Meetup Week, Mini Meetup Week, because these are short. These aren't necessarily camping meetups, but these are gatherings, maybe at a restaurant. We're doing one at a winery. Some are doing it at their homes. Some are doing it at little local businesses, parks, all that kind of stuff. We're doing meetups starting this weekend, and we are really excited all across the country. Mini Meetup Week, in person, short social meetups. Where are they going to be?
They're going to be in Michigan, Ohio, Iowa, Texas, and Arizona.
And these will last for just a few hours, but they allow you to connect in person with other RVers who live or are camping nearby you. And we're really excited about this. We're doing one on Friday night. And we will be in Paw Paw, Michigan. That's the heart of Michigan's wine growing region. It's harvest time there, and we're going to be at the Warner Winery, and we'll be at their brew house there. And it's really, really going to be fun. But you need to let us know that you're going to come.
So you need to RSVP right away so whoever is hosting this can plan for enough space. Like Mike and I, Friday night, it's going to be fun, and let us know so we know whether to get a table for 2 or 22.
Yeah, 2 or 22. It's going to be great, and we are really looking forward to these. These things are going to be so much fun. We think that this is something that we hope that we can do across the country on a fairly regular basis, and it's really, really going to be neat. So we want to tell you next about our travel schedule. We have a pretty active travel schedule. We're hitting the road this weekend.
Sunday, we're going to be taking off. We're going to head south towards our property in Linden, Tennessee. We haven't been down there for, I think it's about 6 months.
Yeah.
So it certainly is time to go down there and see what's going on in Linden.
Yeah, it's gosh, I can't believe 6 months have gone by. And this is kind of like our little retreat. We just really love going to the property. We haven't been there in so long, and we're really excited about heading to Tennessee. And we'll stay there probably about a week, probably going to Nashville at least one night or so. That's always fun. And then we head down to Florida, and that is going to be a big event.
That is going to be a very special time because we're going to Navarre and we're going to have a gathering there. We've got folks coming from all over the country, I think there's going to be 70 of us there.
It's called The Gathering at the Gulf, and we'll be camping 2 weeks from now in Navarre, Florida, right on the water, right near the Gulf Islands National Seashore. And we look so forward to meeting our friends, and it's going to be great.
It is going to be fun. We can reconnect with people that we know and then make some new friends, some new face-to-face.
So lots of traveling, and we hit the road. It seems like we just got home from our Canadian Maritimes trip, and now we're packing up for another multi-week trip. That's the beauty of this lifestyle. All right, so we want to get right to our conversation of the week, and this is a good one.
It really is. We get more questions about the internet than just about any other topic about the RV lifestyle. And it's no wonder, it's always changing.
And we're going to talk about some of those changes right now. Our guests in this week's Conversation of the Week are the undisputed top experts on mobile internet anywhere. You'll find no one that knows more about this than Chris and Cherie from the Mobile Internet Resource Center. We like to touch base with these guys at least twice a year. We catch up on the always changing mobile internet world. And in this conversation, which is taken from a much longer live interview we did on the RV Lifestyle community last week, we're going to discuss what's better these days, Starlink or Cellular.
And the answer may surprise you. We talk about what works best under what circumstances and how to get the best internet connection for you, your specific needs.
So we're going to start this conversation by asking Chris and Cherie to outline the latest changes to Starlink. What are some of the changes, and why would it be more attractive now perhaps than before?
They really became, a viable solution for RVers probably about three and a half years ago when they started launching their plans, and they changed them and the equipment about every 3 or 4 months. The two most recent changes is they just came out over the summer with the mini dish. The standard dish that one was last released at the beginning of this year. It is $5.99 is what the price was. They then dropped it to $4.99 over the summer, and is currently on special for a couple more weeks for $2.99. So it is a great value dish. It uses about the power of a residential refrigerator.
Yeah, so it's still a decent power hog for an RV. The new one, the Starlink Mini that just came out this summer, is small. It's big enough it's basically the size of a laptop, and you could carry it with you in a backpack. And it actually has the router, the Wi-Fi parts of it built right into the Starlink Mini. So you just provide power to it, and it will make a network and connect to the satellites. It uses much less power. It can actually run off of DC. Officially, there's a few tips and tricks to be aware of, but that's a small and portable one. It sacrifices some performance, but not that much.
It's a $5.99, so it is twice the price of the standard. But really, it comes down to which data plan that you go with, and that's where things get a little more complicated. They have their residential plan, which is $120 a month, and that gives you what they call standard level priority. Mm-hmm. So that's going to get the best performance that most of us can want to afford.
But that plan is tied to a fixed location. It's tied to your service address, and if you leave your service address, it will disconnect. But the catch is, or the trick is, you can go to the Starlink website and update your service address anytime you want. So you can update your address as you travel and keep changing. It's not the convenience of the mobile plans, the roam plan is what they call it, but it is a way to get a higher priority data and cheaper, as long as you're traveling in your home country, because you cannot take that to another country without transferring service to another.
So this is a great deal for somebody who may not have great service at home, or they're just don't want to have 2 different payments a month for data.
Yeah, right.
So all they have to do, you leave your home, you type in, hey, I'm now 200 miles away, and this is the city I'm in, and it's that easy?
Yep.
It's basically that easy.
Yeah, it is. And, it's a great option for those that are seasonal RVers or staying in spots for a while. That's usually what we use our Starlink on, and we just update it when we get some places. We don't need to use it in motion usually. We don't need to go internationally with it. But if we do, we just switch to the roam plan, which is the one that they intend for RVers. Now, they just
raised the price.
Just about a week and a half ago, raised the price from $150 a month to $165 a month.
The other thing they did enable with this is they officially now support use in motion. So up until now, the Starlink roam plan was only usable in motion officially up to 10 miles per hour. So it worked for cruising boats moving slowly. But if you wanted to keep your passengers entertained and streaming while you're driving down the road in an RV, and hopefully not the driver, that was not officially supported, though they only sporadically actually blocked it. But now they've just decided we're not going to try and block that anymore. We're going to officially allow in-motion use up to 100 miles an hour. So hopefully that will cover most RVs.
They released the mini dish. They also came out with that with a 50 gigabyte plan for $50 per month.
It's a great deal.
And they have now allowed that plan to be activated on any of the dishes. So any of the data plans that are out there can be activated on any of the dishes now, which makes it super flexible.
And the 50 gigabyte plan is a capped plan. So you can use 50 gigabytes and then it cuts you off, but you can opt in for additional overage data for $1 a gigabyte. So,
or you can switch to the unlimited plan.
Yes.
So this is a great flexible option. So if you maybe you carry cellular as a primary option and you just want the Starlink as an option for when you get someplace without cellular coverage and you have good open sky, well, then you've got that 50 gigabytes to tap into. And then you go back to cellular when you get to your next stop. So that's how we intend to use it, because we're primarily cellular focused. We find cellular outperforms Starlink in most places. But when we don't have cellular, Starlink is great. So that's how we intend to use it.
You just said that cellular generally outperforms Starlink.
Especially 5G and some of the advanced LTE. We're finding on most of the cellular carriers that we get speeds comparable to Starlink or better, especially with upload capacity. Now, Starlink, the upload speeds that we typically see were 10 to 20 megabit per second, which is
it's not bad.
Which is not bad. I mean, hey, 10 years ago, I would have like been like ecstatic and doing happy dances with that.
Yes.
But these days, for those of us that are doing a lot of big YouTube videos, broadcasts, and things like that, the connection we have going right now, which is all cellular, we're getting 50 megabit per second upload over cellular. So
that's really good.
If you have a modern 5G modem and you have antennas to bring in the signal and stuff, there's actually, in a lot of times, sometimes rural places have better 5G performance than urban areas because it's less congested and the towers aren't so occupied. T-Mobile in particular has got some amazing 5G performance in a lot of rural areas because T-Mobile is really invested in rural 5G. But Verizon has actually been doing an amazing amount of good stuff with 5G. AT&T is way behind when it comes to deploying 5G, but still there's always times when it's with cellular, it comes to like which carrier is strong in one area. So sometimes it's, well, this carrier is not great, but I just switched to this one and it's much better. And having some diversity of connections often is a super win.
So there's different ways to get a cellular connection. Of course, your cell phone, you can use personal mobile hotspot off of your phone, connect your devices to it. But cell phones and tablets don't have antenna ports. So, you get what you get in here. The best you're going to do for signal enhancing is going outside and, holding up.
Standing on your RV, yes.
Now, you get into mobile hotspot devices.
And like this one has antenna ports.
So this is the Netgear Nighthawk. And these right here, it's got 2 antenna ports in it. So you can get a little antennas that you can put inside of this. And what that does is there are antennas inside of these cellular devices. But when you put one outside, they're going to be higher gain. And you can also put them outside where the signal is.
Suction cup them to a window
or
and
something
like that. Yeah.
The downside of doing a mobile hotspot device with cellular antennas is all 5G and advanced LTE devices actually use 4 antennas inside. So there are actually 4 antennas inside this hotspot device. If you're connecting a 2x2 antenna to it, you're cutting off 2 of those antennas. And that's the equivalent of covering up one of your ears. And if you can just kind of experiment with that, you hear differently when you don't have sound coming in both of your ears. Same thing with a cellular device, is it performs better with more ears.
Yeah. So the trick we always tell people with mobile hotspots like this is they will perform better with an antenna in weak signal areas and better without an antenna in stronger signal areas. So it's always worthwhile to do a kind of an A/B test and not have that plug in your external antenna and it'll actually cut you down and cut your speed in half because you're covering up half of your inputs, half of your ears, basically. So that is the way antennas work with hotspots. And always look for hotspots that have antenna ports. Not all of them do.
Give you the option.
Yes.
That way, the more options you have on the road, the better prepared you are to get a good connection. Now, if you want to use all 4 of the antennas that are inside that modem, that's when going to a mobile router makes sense. This is one by Peplink. Inside is a 5G modem inside. It has 4 antenna ports, which you see here On the back are the antenna ports. You can see that four of those are cellular.
The GPS.
This one's
Cellular A, B, C, and D. Yep.
So this allows us to connect. You have to connect. This one has no internal antennas. You have to connect external antennas. They come with little paddle screw-in ones, or you can have one that routes up to the roof and have 4 antennas out there to give you a much better performance and just really combine those 4.
And then a router inside has Ethernet ports and Wi-Fi radios and stuff, so it becomes kind of the hub of your network. So you got the antennas upstairs, the router inside sharing the network, and oftentimes combining it with other things. So like a router like this could also take in Starlink over Ethernet, combine the cellular and Starlink together, and suddenly you get the best of both worlds. You can deal with trees a lot better, more flexibly.
Yeah. Now, people have talked about the combining Starlink and 2 different cell networks. That's where it starts to get really confusing to people. It sounds like a great deal. How is that possible? And is it that much more efficient?
It depends upon, so you really need to consider, what do you need to be doing online? Are you working remotely? Will you get fired from your job if you can't get online today? During broadcasts like this, you really have to assess your individual needs. So we are against giving like general advice that applies to everybody, because it does not apply to everybody.
Everybody's different.
You really have to look at what your unique needs are, and how important mobile internet is, where you're traveling to, how long you're in a spot, what sort of speeds do you need for a minimum to do what you need to do. For us, we depend on it. I mean, this is our job. We're usually combining 4 cellular connections together and Starlink occasionally and we're playing around with it at each location. Last year, we did a 5-month van trip. We recorded at 47 different locations what worked at each location. And it was different.
There was no universal
answer to what worked, how many connections we needed. The more options that you have to play around with, the more redundancy you have. And, but that also means more stuff that you have to play around with at each location. The more you have to understand about how to optimize each of your setups.
You can do things very simply. You can't keep things very simple. It's actually one of the simplest ways to have redundancy is a lot of modern phones have multiple SIM slots. So you can have a plan in here with, like, I've got Verizon and AT&T both in my phone. So one or the other has got a better signal sometimes, and I just let my phone be a hotspot. And that is a simple way to have redundancy with just one device, one phone. But then you ramp up from there to having multiple connections active simultaneously, where you're actually combining them, not just having one or the other that you can quickly switch between. And you get to the point where you're doing what's called bonding, which is actually using the connections simultaneously bonded together using a server or service online that, as soon as one connection drops, it's instantly filled in with the other, so that you don't have glitches when you're doing it.
And that's getting into really advanced stuff. So over at the Mobile Resource Center, we have a lot of resources to help our members navigate this stuff, to educate them on, and how to do all this stuff and give them the background education and understanding.
Bring it down just part of the average RVer. One of the questions we get a lot, and this is one that comes in just now from Aggie Schmidt, who's watching, and she says, our RV came with a wine guard. Mm-hmm. We struggle to get this to connect to any Wi-Fi. Any suggestions? And this has been an issue we've heard over and over, and I bet you've heard it even more.
Right. So the wine guard, there's the Air 360, and they used to have the Connect T before that. What this is a dome that sits on top of the RV, and a lot of manufacturers have contracted with WineGuard to pre-installed. Yes. So it's coming out. A lot of people are getting it as a default. It is, for basic needs, that's what it's best optimized for. It has antennas in it so that it can connect to Wi-Fi like at your campground, and then use that as your source. And it also has cellular inside of it as well, as cellular antennas. And then you have to buy a gateway device to connect to it to do the cellular. And there's a couple different options out there. They're all lower end LTE devices. So they're not they're not something we recommend to those that have reliable, redundant needs. We recommend just ripping that thing out and going with a different option. But if your needs are basic, it's okay.
Oftentimes you are better off going with something a bit more high end, but it all depends on what your individual needs are.
Stephen D. Miller asks, does a WeBoost help with my data speed?
Now, what a WeBoost does is it basically puts one antenna on the roof, uses electronic amplification to then, like a megaphone, shout at the device. Cellular boosters are great for phone calls, for cellular phone calls. For data, we're finding 90% of the time you're better off with an external antenna.
Booster doesn't help. And oftentimes we tell people this is when you turn on a booster, you will almost always see more bars on your phone. You think you're getting a better signal because the signal's louder, but it's actually noisier, and your data speeds are oftentimes slower. So you can see more bars, but your speeds go down. So if you do have a booster, don't leave it on all the time because it will be hurting you more often than not.
These days, it really comes down to your hyper location. It could be in your own campground, one carrier works better than across the street. It really, you can't just choose one carrier. It really comes down to their local coverage map.
Yeah, particularly when it comes to some rural areas, the rural markets are so small that if one carrier has gotten dominant in a town of only 250 people, another carrier is not going to bother to put up much local resources there because everybody there is already an AT&T customer or a US Cellular customer or a Verizon customer. So nobody's going to really invest to compete for that teeny tiny little town. So there's a patchwork of where each carrier is best in super rural areas. But in general, when you take the big picture view, all three of the big ones are doing really, really well.
Thank you, Chris and Cherie.
Thanks for having us on. We have a bunch of resources over at the Mobile Internet Resource Center, so feel free to follow up there. A lot of free content.
Chris and Cherie, bye, you guys. Thank you so much. Now, that conversation came as part of almost an hour-long interview where we had live questions being sent in by members of our RV lifestyle community. I'll put a link to the extended conversation in the show notes for this episode. And by the way, you always find the show notes on our blog, rvlifestyle.com. And you'll find them on the podcast tab, which is rvlifestyle.com/podcast. So you can check it there. There's also a link to the Mobile Internet Resource Center. You can access much of the material and the research that Chris and Cherie share. I think you'll find it really helpful. And we will obviously have those guys back probably springtime as we talk about what's going on next year. So that's pretty good. All right. This part of the podcast is brought to you by Greenwood Ranches. And we've been telling you about Greenwood Ranches now for a couple of weeks. And it's important you get this. I'm going to give you a little brief message about them. But the sale for this property is Saturday, this Saturday. And you can get details or an appointment if you go to ArizonaRVland.net. That's all one word, ArizonaRVland.net. We want you to learn about Greenwood Ranches. If you're looking for RV land in Arizona, listen up.
We just heard about a land offering out west for RVers in Arizona. They're selling 5-acre RV ranches starting at only $49,900. The company offering it is affiliated with the people Jennifer and I bought our Tennessee property from. They do a great job. It looks amazing. It is at high elevation, so you get cooler temperatures, big mountain views, juniper trees, and green grasses. And it is near everything: the Grand Canyon, Lake Havasu, Kingman, Flagstaff, and Sedona. It's a perfect place to have a home base to explore the West, and it is right off famous Route 66. It's called Greenwood Ranches, and this is the second and final section of the community. We met the sales manager, really nice guy. He bought a property for his RV, and he's building a container home on it. Check out their website for a video tour and showing availability. It's pretty incredible. Visit the website to get details and set up a showing. ArizonaRVland.net. That's ArizonaRVland.net.
Once again, that sale is this Saturday. RV land that is right in the desert, gorgeous property, and you'll be glad you checked it out. ArizonaRVland.net. All right, what are we doing now?
Well, now it's time for the social media buzz with Wendy Boyer. And Wendy's going to she reports on the hot issues most talked about this past week on the social media and our RV lifestyle community group.
Hi everybody. Over in the RV Lifestyle Community's general discussion space, we had a recent post from Patty. Patty asked if anyone else in the community struggled with the need to go, go, go. And she gave a little background. She said she was writing this in Minnesota. They were up there for a wedding. They were about to drive down to Florida, which was their home state. And then they were going to be there. They had a commitment through the end of December. But she wrote that she was already itching to make plans for January, and so she wanted to know, do others struggle with the need for adventure, or are they able to sit still for a couple months? And this was so much fun to read because it sounds like by far so many of us are the exact same way. In fact, Tina said, that's me. I'm always looking for the next place to go. And Carol, she said she always has dreams of traveling more. Scott said it's his wife who grounds him. Otherwise, he's always ready to go at a moment's notice. So no, Patty, it sounds like you are not alone. Also in the community, in our boondocking space, we asked, how do you feel about the general safety of rustic off-grid camping spots? Now, this is something we get asked from time to time, so it was really interesting to hear people's responses. There were a segment of the responses that said things about how they maybe used to feel more safe in the past, but now with the state of things in the world and the country, not so much. One of these people was V. She said, I never worried about it much in the past, but I feel slightly more like an easy target these days. But others felt very differently. Art, he said that he feels 100% safe boondocking in the middle of nowhere. He suggested RVers just be aware of their surroundings, maybe take some precautions like putting a beware of dogs sign on the outside of your rig. And Patty, she was another person who said she felt very safe. In fact, she said she feels safer boondocking or camping in the middle of a remote forest or desert than she does near a big city. She said you just have to be smart, be aware of your surroundings. You know, when you go to a place, is there trash around, sides of an encampment? If so, that's going to be an indication of who you may be running into. So just have a plan, look around you. And she pointed out that it's a lot harder for bad guys to find you when you're in the middle of nowhere. So, there is definitely some truth to that. Less people, less likely of being harmed. So just good points. And overall, many people said they felt fine camping in the middle of the woods. And then over on our RV Lifestyle Facebook group, we had a different kind of post from Wendy. Wendy said, how can I calm my anxiety before riding in our Class A? It sounds like she and her husband just got a Class A and it is stressing her out. And you know what? She's not the only one who feels this way as a passenger. There were almost 700 comments on this thread and so many felt nervous about it. Now, of course, there were responses like, grab a glass of wine or, grab some sort of drug. But there were a lot of other really insightful things that I just had to share some of them with you. Many, like Karen, said that Wendy needs to identify the source of her anxiety. Is it her husband's driving? Is it the size of the Class A? Is it the motion, just the whole feel of the rig? If she can identify the source of it, then that's the first step for overcoming it. Others suggested she change her location. If she's sitting in that passenger seat and that's what's causing the anxiety, just go sit in the couch in the back and put the seatbelt on back there. And by far, most people suggested that Wendy occupy her mind, find something to do that engages your thoughts. Maybe listen to an audiobook, watch a movie with headphones, cross-stitch, knit, play, games that are challenging on your phone. There were a lot of great suggestions here, and I do hope that she got some help. And that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy Boyer, and I'll see you over at the RV Lifestyle Community or Facebook group.
Oh, there is a lot of activity on that RV Lifestyle Community.
There sure is. And that one question about the woman who gets anxious when she takes off in her Class A, I'd never thought about that. And that's interesting. Like I say, I'd never thought that anybody would be anxious in the A, and you wonder if it's her husband's driving or the big windows. I mean, something that unsettles her. And
Well,
I think the advice of getting something to do, get your mind off from.
Yep, she got some great advice.
Yeah.
And then there was another question that I really liked is the person reminds me of you and I thought it was maybe you that asked it, that as soon as you get home from a trip, you want to go to on another trip. And it turns out that that's a condition that a lot of people have in the RV lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that's true. If you've had a good time, you want to start thinking about the next good time.
Yep. Well, we're going to start thinking about your questions because we've got a couple of them coming up in the questions of the week right after this.
When we're asked what's the most important modification we made to our RV, it's an easy answer. Battle-Born batteries. Battle-Born batteries are quality, safe, reliable lithium batteries that allow us to stay out there off the grid longer. Lithium batteries charge faster, they charge fuller, they're longer lasting, they're maintenance free, and battle-born batteries are protected by a 10-year guarantee. Now, in our case, they just dropped into the existing AGM batteries that we have, and they'll probably be the same on your rig too. Battle-born battery experts can get those in your rig just like they did with ours. They can also match you up with the right cabling, the inverter, the charger, the solar controller, everything. Jennifer and I swear by our battle-born batteries. They allow us to boondock off the grid. Check them out. Go to rvlifestyle.com/lithium. rvlifestyle.com/lithium.
All right, everybody, time now for the RV questions of the week. And just a reminder, you can send us feedback on anything you heard in the podcast today or your questions. And our email address, our private email for just us is mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com. We'd love to get your questions. What do we got?
All right, question number 1. I bought a 2011 Heartland big country fifth wheel to live in year round outside of Houston, Texas. My birth date makes me 81, but my mind says I'm in my 60s. I would not want to pull my rig, even if I had a truck. I had a Toyota Dolphin, and before that, a pop-up tent trailer. My husband graduated to heaven in 2022, so think traveling solo is not in the cards. Question for the community. Got a notice to re-register my fifth wheel and have it inspected. And it would cost approximately $200 to take it in for the inspection, and then another $200 to set it back up. So not even thinking about all the taking down, putting all my stuff back and everything. What do we do when we live stationary? And that's Cynthia.
Well, I guess I loved her answer that she's 81 but feels like she's in her 60s. That tells us a lot about you, Cynthia. But I don't think she has to worry, do you? You're stationary. You're not driving that on the highway. So I think you probably, don't need to take it into an inspection statement, inspection station there. I would simply maybe call and have it inspected, though, for your own health, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Get a mobile tech, have them come out, check everything over, make sure everything's working right.
Now, you're in a pretty old unit, and just like with a house, it needs some basic maintenance every year. But unlike a house, an RV is not as sturdy, and so you really need to have the peace of mind that somebody has checked things over and make sure everything is okay. There's no leaks of your propane system or your plumbing system, that your air conditioning is working, all that stuff, that your heater's going to be working. Besides, I bet she has a long list of things that need adjusting or repaired, and the tech can handle that for you as well, Cynthia. So
I'm wondering about this inspection. I've never heard of having to have it.
Well, it's a motorhome. So if it's a motorhome, you have to, in some states, you have to have it inspected every year to make sure the engine works and all that. But she doesn't take it on the road. It's a stationary unit, so I think you're okay with it. Because you don't have it on the road. It is not as big a deal as you think. You could find somebody that could come and pick it up and hook it up and take it and then bring it back. But like you say, it's going to cost you a couple $100 for the inspection. It's going to cost you a couple $100, to have it taken out, maybe even brought back. And how good are your tires? You're going to need new tires if you take it on the road. So back to our first suggestion, and that's that mobile tech. Have a mobile tech come out and take a good look at your RV and tell you what they have found out.
Sounds like good advice. And now for question number 2. We travel with our 2 golden retrievers and are always looking for places that are dog welcoming. I recall some time ago hearing you say you had an app you use for Bo. Can you share that again, please?
And that's from Michaela. Okay, it's an easy one to remember. It's called Go Pet Friendly. That's it, one word, gopetfriendly.com. It's a kind of a pet-friendly, I guess I call it a travel planning platform if you want. It has a free mobile app That's the app you get, but you can just go to the website if you want, gopetfriendly.com. And you can find places where you can bring your pet. For example, if you're in a city and you want to go out to eat, are there places that have outdoor dining that let you bring your pet, which most places do, that have outdoor dining areas. But you want to be sure that pets are welcome there, and they'll give you a list. You might need to find a place for doggy daycare, or you might be looking for an off-leash dog park, and it will help you with that. If you're on the road and you need a hotel, find a place that is pet friendly that you can bring your dogs in. It's a very handy app, and it gets more data all the time. So check it out. It's free. Places where you and your pet can do things together. You can search by destination, or you can get ideas for pet vacations you can do, pet beaches that you can take your pet. Information like on national parks where they are not very pet friendly, but it'll tell you where you can and can't take your pets. And you can even plan your own road trip and routes. It's a real handy app, easy to get around. Just go check it out, gopetfriendly.com. All right, that's the podcast for this week. Again, we love to get your questions and your comments and your feedback. You can send them to us to our private email, which is mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com. All right, we'll see you next week. We'll be on the road someplace. I don't know where, but we'll be coming to you from the road. Thanks for watching.
Happy trails.